I've been playing Call of Duty Zombies for a really long time, and the different installments of the game mode have actually made Call of Duty some of my favorite games of all time. And right now, with the state of Black Ops 6 Zombies, it has the community completely torn, and most people saw the COD Next footage of Liberty Falls and instantly hated on the game mode and the map. And while their arguments are valid, and I don't see myself playing Liberty Falls on launch or really after I beat the Easter egg once, people are seeming to forget about Terminus, which, in my opinion, it does look pretty good, and I like the art direction they took for it. But because there's been flop after flop after flop for the franchise, a lot of people have refunded their pre-order of Black Ops 6, and I just want to go back to where the downfall started and to see what actually happened. In order to see what happened, we need to go back in time to see what the first game that had the community the most upset about was. And from the internet's perspective, that seems to be Black Ops 4, but I actually personally really liked Black Ops 4 Zombies, and while it did have its fair share of problems
As soon as I shot a shield, it crashed.
or bad maps, the good outweighed the bad for me, and the first game that started to fall apart, in my opinion, was Cold War. There are a few major reasons as to why I think Cold War was the start of the whole thing, and the first and most talked about reason would have to be the creation of Warzone. Now, pretty much everyone is chalking up this downfall to the release of Warzone, and it is for a good reason, because Warzone has had a very clear influence on Call of Duty Zombies, and it shows a lot through the mechanics they added, like self-revives, armors, weapon rarity, and score streaks, and of course through the release of Outbreak. And for me, these are what made Cold War one of my least favorite Zombies games. Zombies is meant to be difficult, which is why the majority of the player base enjoyed it so much, and with the addition of the mechanics they added, it just made it not feel like zombies anymore, and it just made it feel too easy, which is another point I'll get onto later. But the addition of Outbreak was the first Warzone zombies map, open world zombies, and they ended up making that the style, which no one really liked. No one liked the non round based style of gameplay. And that's the reasons I think Warzone contributed to the whole ordeal. But there are a couple different reasons. Like, after Black Ops 4, the old director of Zombies, Jason Blundell, ended up leaving Treyarch, and Jason seemed to be really proud of his work. He made Easter eggs that were solved 6 to 8 years after the release of Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4, and one specific Easter egg that still hasn't been solved yet has only had some leads appear 9 years later. Jason called this the impossible Easter egg, and I'm not going to go into it here, but if you somehow haven't seen it, I'll leave a link to Skype in its channel, who discovered a lot of the leads to the Easter egg. However, Jason said that he put something into the game that no one would ever be able to solve, and he loved making the game mode challenging, which people did really seem to enjoy, as Sky Inn's video has 1 million views at the time of recording this, and it just made the game more fun to play. Now, the new director, Kevin Giroux, has so much potential, and I do genuinely believe that he's going to save Call of Duty Zombies. He's listening to the community feedback, and he is trying his hardest to make everyone happy and give us the best of both worlds. He's adding in a guided Easter egg mode to make sure that people who enjoy zombies who might not be good enough to beat the main quest are going to be able to do that. And he said he's making the Easter eggs harder, so adding this in will allow those people to beat. And I'm not completely against this, and I do think it's a good way to get more people to play and experience it. I just think that it kind of defeats the purpose of an Easter egg. I don't know. But I'm not so sure Black Ops 6 is going to be the game that we're all hoping to get, because Kevin Giroux is a little out of touch with the community on little things still. And in this clip where he's talking about a perkaholic and he says, who doesn't want all the perks right away? And then Mr. Darlick JD mouths me while pointing to himself.
Perkaholic, obviously.
Obviously.
The big one, right? Who doesn't want all the perks immediately? But
because of small things like this, I'm not 100% convinced that Black Ops 6 is going to be the game that saves zombies, but I am confident that as long as Kevin Giroux stays on the Treyarch team as the director and pays attention to the community, the next game he makes will be a really good game, and I think many people will like his next game. Another reason is that the games are just too easy. I don't think I really failed an Easter egg once on Cold War, and I probably went down a total of 4 times through any of my games I've played. And with the gameplay of Liberty Falls, the difficulty doesn't really look any different. Duke Dennis, of all people, has the high round record on Liberty Falls, and everyone was making it to round 30 plus with ease. Now, it did kind of seem like they made it easier for COD Next, as the guns had a ton of ammo, and everyone was taking a ton of hits before going down. But if it's not just for COD Next and that is how the game's gonna play, then it will honestly be easier than Cold War. And one of the reasons that the games are way easier is because of the addition of the Warzone mechanics, like I said before. Self revives don't make too much of a difference for me because all you needed to do before was buy quick revive, and if you were in a solo game, it would revive you as the same thing. They are limiting self revives in Black Ops 6, so I think that is a good addition, but the armor is definitely making the game way easier because you're able to take so many hits with full armor and with Jug, and you don't need to play as carefully anymore as like you can take so many more hits. And one of the main reasons why I love zombies is because of the story and the theme or ambience of a map. Zombies has always felt like you're playing a completely different game from the base of Call of Duty, and the reason is that Zombies was always more like kind of mystical, while the multiplayer and campaign were obviously more military or real feeling. And Zombies was mystical instead of military. They were able to create maps that had amazing ambience and they were able to stylize them. But in the recent years, they've taken the story and themes of the map to military, making the game just feel like Call of Duty. And with the maps not feeling stylized to zombies and really having no ambience. For example, in Black Ops 3, take Shadows of Evil, a really nice looking town with amazing atmosphere, and then The Machine is a government facility. Revelations is an amalgamation of different maps and a giant 115 sun in Agartho with Apothicon Elder Gods. And Firebase Z is a government facility. Okay, what about Black Ops 4? You have 9. It's in this coliseum, and you're fighting gladiators, and you have this crowd watching you. And Forsaken is just a government facility. Now, if the story is bad, that doesn't automatically make the maps or game bad for me, but it does set the theme you're able to give your maps. Like in Black Ops 4, the Chaos storyline wasn't the greatest thing ever, but it had some major magical, mystical elements, so they were able to set maps in interesting locations like 9 or Ancient Evil. Black Ops 3 has a better storyline, but it's the same thing. Because they have those elements, they were able to give their map that stylization and ambience. And even Infinite Warfare Zombies, which is one of my favorite games, was about the main crew going into different movies, and it also had the elements allowing them to pretty much go wherever they wanted. And Zombies in Spaceland is in a lot of top 5 maps for people, but if we go to Cold War, they swept kind of the magic under the rug, and the really only magical thing in this story is the Dark Ether, and the main focus is on a military theme, which has limited all the map stylization. And like I said earlier, it's just all government facilities, and I think that's the main reason the game mode isn't feeling the same. So, do I think that Call of Duty Zombies will ever be the same again? I think that there's a very high likelihood. And I only say this because I believe that Treyarch is definitely on the right path with Black Ops 6 and the changes they're making. It's just that there are still a couple major and minor things that they still need to address with their games. And the main focus I think they should have is on the ambience of the maps, like I was talking about earlier. I'm not saying they need to bring the old crew back. I just think that they need to completely reevaluate the current Dark Ether storyline and try to add in more mystical elements and get rid of all those military aspects. I know that the storyline for Black Ops 6 was way more thought out than Cold War since Treyarch was working on it for 4 years, and they could have potentially done this. And because the first map has the main crew inside a prison, and it's already seeming way better with the themes of the maps than Cold War. But once that first DLC comes out before the end of the year, it's going to tell us whether or not that they fixed the heavy government feel to the current zombies. And some of the smaller things I think they need to be addressed are those Warzone aspects that they were adding during Cold War and kept in Black Ops 6. The biggest one being the armor. And armor actually does make sense to me the way that the current story is playing out. And if Treyarch doesn't change the story, then I would be fine with them keeping in armor. However, the armor only makes sense because of the military theme, which, like I've said, is the main issue that new games are having. And the last thing that I think Treyarch should do is not get rid of score streaks, but get rid of the multiplayer score streaks and only add in ones that are custom to zombies. The Mangler one they already have, I think it's called the Lethal Injection. It's actually kind of cool, and by adding in more things like that, it could help zombies feel just like zombies again. and it could honestly be a really cool feature. And while we are in a new era of zombies, I just hope that Treyarch will take this feedback and realize that a lot of the smaller feedback they are getting from the community is stemming from this one issue, and I hope they can fix it by their next game.